Gotta get my head around Christchurch City falling down. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause everywhere all I see is broken bricks and cracked concrete. Oh, 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 oh. And I feel like I should cry as I walk along streets where people die. But I've gotta live my life. I go to work, go to sleep, push, repeat, and pay the bills on time. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You found your way to groovefm.co.nz. Thanks for joining us. Let's have a look at one of the theatre productions that's going to be going on in Wellington over the next couple of weeks in March. From the 15th to the 24th of March, it's Wolf. Wolf is a production written by Sam Fisher, who writes under the name of Tim Barcode, and he comes from, of all places, Christchurch, from the earthquake period. And he's with me now to tell me a little bit more about the production. With him, he's brought with him two people, Susanna, who plays one of the women in the show, and also Tasha, who's another one. Now, they'll tell you more about their characters, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but what I will tell you is this is a production about what it's like to live through the earthquakes and to experience from a personal point of view, you might say. Anyway, Sam will tell you more about that.
I am Sam Fisher. I am directing the play. The play is about how you trust things in your life is going along, and then it just isn't anymore. All the rules change. So the play takes the metaphor of the earthquakes as a thing about how you can't trust your friends, your insurance company, your council, your government, your neighbours, because that just seems to be a quite an interesting juxtaposition, big word, but basically what we've got is a situation where people are crammed into a house together, negotiating post-earthquakes, and there were several. Everyone says, were you there for the earthquake? There were several earthquakes. There were 13,000 in fact. So it's during just after the two big ones, and it's looking for how things shook down with that. And the issue there is that things aren't always what they seem, and if you're in a very difficult situation where you're all crammed together, then maybe secrets and things that you've been hiding come out, and that's what it looks like, really.
So you moved from Christchurch to Wellington, kind of going from one set of jaws to another.
Yeah, I've done that several times. I think it's the third or fourth time I've moved to Wellington from Christchurch. I did actually leave to go back to Christchurch in the late... We'll pretend it was 2008, I can't remember. One of the 5 reasons to go was the possibility of earthquakes in Wellington. I'd done some civil defence work, and I thought, rather not be there for that, so I went to Christchurch and then lived the whole joyous experience down there instead, which was quite interesting. So the problem with that was that I had a business and I had a family and I had a life down there, but after the earthquakes, nothing sort of worked anymore. So all the clients I had in my business, very good reasons, all separately, basically didn't need me anymore. The earthquake work was going to people from Wellington who were coming down. I would have done much better in Christchurch had I been still in Wellington when it happened. I would have come down on a very high consultant salary and done very well. And so I realised that I was spending more on rent than I was earning. So there was, and I had a business collapse, had the back taxes from that. I had a separation from the marriage I'd had. It was just, everything was just disastrous. So I left. I came back to Wellington. Wellington's always been very good to me.
So in a way, that's your own wolves, so to speak. Explain the wolf concept. Is this a spectre of sorts?
It is, and in fact what it talks about is that we think we know things. We think we know the ground will be like this, it will do that. I will walk along the road and I will go to the shop and that will be fine. But when all of a sudden that no longer happens, when all of a sudden those things, the road's broken, the shops are closed, what is left of the road is crammed up with cars, it suddenly takes on a whole feral, your natural environment takes on a feral quality. And I think we're talking a bit about that. We're talking a bit about how everything you've trusted, believed and lived in is no longer what it was, and it's turned on you. And the ground shook. I mean, there were 13,000 earthquakes. I say that again because people don't quite get that. They say, oh, we're there for the earthquake. It wasn't the earthquake at all. There were days where you got 2 5s or 2 4s and the ground shook and you thought, is this another big one? And things fell and broke. I had some friends very close to the river who had one glass left over from all their cups and glasses. That was the glass. That was the only thing that they used paper cups after that. And it's just this sort of thing that progressively during the course of the major earthquakes they lost everything. So it was this sort of thing, that feeling that it's a spectre of evil around you the whole time, and that's what we're talking about.
One of the things I've noticed long term about, I guess from all the communications from people talking individually and a lot of media hype, of course, is that there are, and Christchurch is, there's two types of Christchurch. There's the visionary Christchurch, and there's the expected Christchurch, and that one is the one which we'd rather have it back the way it was, thanks, but we can't. So the visionary one is there, and there's always clashes going on.
Well, that's interesting, because what they're trying to do is rebuild Christchurch as it was, but update it a bit. So they're trying to rebuild the city centre. The problem with the city centre is it wasn't working anyway. That's why it was so weak when the earthquakes came. So to rebuild it is a really dumb idea in some ways. But they're doing it. They're trying to restore what was. And the visionary stuff was about large parks and about recreational areas through the centre of town. That's not happening. And it's one of the reasons I did leave was I thought this is going to fall far short of what we could have had. We haven't adopted any energy efficiency in terms of the rebuild. And worse than that, we've now imported a large number of low-paid manual workers into the city to do work. A lot of the higher-paid, more technical and skilled workers are leaving. And we've got this large influx of people who aren't from here. And look, there's nothing wrong with people coming into the city, but I just think the nature of what Christchurch will be is not what it was. And I think I really wasn't looking forward to that transition at all.
This is another wolf which is definitely there, is that clash of ideologies.
Yes.
That's underlying those things. So I guess from a writer you've got all this kind of 360 view of what should be perfect.
That's
and
right.
why it isn't.
Well, I worked for an energy efficiency agency, and I was trying to get energy efficiency incorporated into buildings, which is why I kept coming back to it. And that was incredibly heartbreaking to watch that not happen.
Now, from the play's point of view, what characters have we got?
We've got 5 characters, very ably played by an extremely talented cast. We have Ali, who owns a house very near the riverbank in Avonside, and she's basically got that house there as part of her dream of having an art studio and a place to paint her pictures and just to sort of have this little lifestyle and community around her. We've got her long-term boarder, a young chap called Lee, his girlfriend, which is Kushla, who's here tonight, which is now Talia is playing her. We've got the next door neighbour, who's a very exciting character called Cassie, or Cassandra, maybe, long term. And she lives next door, and because of things, as the play goes on, she ends up living with them because her house is unsafe. And then another character whose house is also unsafe, who comes to live as a flatmate for a while. And he worked for an organisation involved in the rebuild. So he's a bit of is he the evil among them, is the question.
So Talia / Kushla, tell me about your role. Tell me about how you got involved in play. And you've got a cool T-shirt on that says you're not a wolf.
Yes, that's right.
Why are you not a wolf?
Well, or am I? That is the real question. Well, so I got involved with the play. I was really interested because I spent a lot of time in Christchurch, and I've seen the city before the quakes, after the quakes, and through the process of rebuilding. And I know a lot of people who've gone through the process of being there during the quakes. As a journalist myself, I've also followed a lot of the progress and written about it in the past, and so it's just something that really interests me. So getting to combine my interest in Christchurch and journalism and acting has been a real pleasure for me, acting in Wolf with the amazing cast and director, of course. So my character is Kushla, and she's the annoying girlfriend of Lee. He's a bit smitten with her, but everyone else finds her a bit chaotic, a bit too bright and friendly. But I actually think that she's a bit of a glue between the cast because they all have their secrets, they have their worries, their fears that they don't necessarily talk about. So there's quite a lot of tension in different parts of the play, even though you don't really know where that is coming from. And so Kushla is a character that's bright, sees what she thinks without thinking about the consequences, and kind of lightens the mood quite a bit. And I hope it makes it quite entertaining as well.
Yeah. Two of the cast members actually live around the corner from where the play is set.
Yeah.
Which must be an interesting well, rather creepy. So, sort of revisit.
Yeah, so we've got Ryan who plays Mike, and he lives really close to the area where the play was set, and so it's been really helpful having him in the cast, giving us some guidance for what it was like during his experience there compared to what we're acting out in the play, and also having Sam, who was there around the time of the quakes as well. He's always got tales to tell us in rehearsals, whether helpful or not, and they're always interesting. And yeah, it's been really interesting having that personal connection in the play. It makes it quite special.
Susanna, welcome.
Hi.
Tell me about your role.
I play Cassie, who is the kind of neurotic, sort of OCD neighbour of Ellie, who owns the house that all the others are living in. Cassie's place ends up getting damaged by the February quake, so she ends up moving into Ellie's place along with the others. I got involved in the show because I saw Sam advertise the auditions on Facebook, and I actually, because I'm from Christchurch originally, I was actually directed by Sam in a show about 10 years ago when I was still living down there, and I thought, oh, Sam's back and he's doing a show, so I got in touch with him about auditioning and ended up getting cast.
You weren't damaged too much by the previous experience then?
I came out of it unscathed, mostly.
Sam, there's many sort of, I guess, stories from Christchurch that have come out, and I guess as a wrap-up, what would make this story different, or what's a point of difference? Why should people come?
Well, a lot of the art that I've seen and looked at that have come out of the earthquakes has all been sanitised. A lot of it is about, I mean, there's the bits which are striking to remind you how many people died, but the bits about how people's lives have been broken, I haven't seen. There have been the worthy biopic type plays where they sort of do this horrible story about this. It's a really tragic thing.
In the moment, yeah.
Really tragic stuff, but there's not really many stories with it as a backdrop. So what you get is one of the things I think we've concentrated on is the history, and not supremely accurately, but we've concentrated on, you know, the cast, the characters are collecting water. They're collecting food from people who anonymously turn up and giving away food from out of town. They can't get to the supermarket or the mall. We've got those sorts of things built in. So I think by doing it this way, you're going to get a much more realistic picture of what it was like than you will from some of these more worthy and probably very good pieces that I've observed and looked at, which are more idealised or something. I don't know quite how to do it. This is what we've got is a much more realistic take on how what living was sort of like, with a story going on around it, as opposed to a story about how awful it was when, you know, somebody quite lovely was killed or badly injured. And we haven't gone into that so much. We've gone into what was it like to live, because for most people their experience is what it was like living. Now, we haven't gone into the fighting with the insurance companies in detail, although we mention it quite a bit. But we've got the sort of what's it like with that sort of uncertainty hanging around the background. And I think that's one of the things that people will see, is just the sort of ordinariness of the difficult. And that's the point, a whole lot of people living in one place.